The discovery of 6 hostages killed in Gaza has sent shockwaves through Israel. This tragedy has deepened the political crisis already gripping the nation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing intense pressure. Public anger and frustration are boiling over. People are furious over how he has handled the hostage negotiations with Hamas. The tragic incident has further divided Israel politically. Netanyahu's right-wing coalition partners want a harsher response. Opposition voices are calling for restraint and a negotiated settlement. The situation is tense and uncertain. The hostage crisis has exposed deep wounds within Israeli society. It has highlighted the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The situation has also drawn international attention. World leaders are closely monitoring the situation. They are calling for calm and urging a peaceful resolution. However, the path forward remains unclear. The stakes are incredibly high for both Israelis and Palestinians. The hostage crisis is a tragedy for all involved. It is a reminder of the human cost of conflict. It is also a stark illustration of the challenges facing the region. The international community must work together to find a lasting solution. This solution must address the root causes of the conflict. It must also provide security and justice for both Israelis and Palestinians. Benjamin Netanyahu is facing the biggest test of his political career. He is caught in a storm of domestic and international pressure. The hostage crisis has exposed the fragility of his government. It has also highlighted the deep divisions within Israeli society. The threat from Hamas remains potent. Hezbollah's growing influence in the region adds another layer of complexity. Netanyahu is facing mounting criticism. Some of it comes from within his own party. The broader public is also questioning his judgment and leadership. His once iron grip on power seems to be slipping. The groundswell of opposition is growing stronger. The world watches and waits to see how Netanyahu will navigate this crisis. The stakes are high for Netanyahu. His decisions will have far-reaching consequences. He must find a way to unite a divided nation. He must also confront the complex security threats facing Israel. All of this while navigating the treacherous waters of international diplomacy. Netanyahu is a shrewd politician. He has a long history of survival, but the challenges he faces now are unprecedented. The outcome of this crisis will likely define his legacy. It will also have a profound impact on the future of Israel. Netanyahu's attempts to quell the unrest have backfired. His actions have only inflamed public sentiment. Protests have spread like wildfire across Israel. Demonstrators are demanding his resignation. They accuse him of putting his political survival above the safety of Israeli citizens. Powerful labor unions have joined the chorus of dissent. They are threatening nationwide strikes. These strikes could cripple Israel's economy. Netanyahu's once unshakable grip on power appears to be weakening. The groundswell of opposition grows stronger by the day. The protests are a sign of the deep frustration felt by many Israelis. They are tired of the endless cycle of violence. They want a leader who will prioritize their safety and well-being. Netanyahu's hardline policies have alienated many. They see him as part of the problem, not the solution. The labor unions are a powerful force in Israel. Their threat to strike carries significant weight. A nationwide strike would bring the country to a standstill. It would put immense pressure on Netanyahu to step down. The situation is volatile and unpredictable. The United States' unwavering support for Israel is being tested. The recent conflict with Hamas has strained relations between the two countries. Recent surveys by the Pew Research Center reveal a growing rift. Public opinion in both countries has been affected. Americans and Israelis are expressing increasingly negative views of each other's leaders. The conflict has exposed the complexities of the US-Israel relationship. It has highlighted the delicate balance that US policymakers must navigate. The Middle East is a volatile region. The US must carefully weigh its interests. It must also consider the potential consequences of its actions. The US has long been Israel's closest ally. However, the relationship is not without its challenges. The two countries have different perspectives on key issues. These include the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and Iran's nuclear program. The current crisis has exacerbated these tensions. The US has been criticized for its handling of the situation. Some accuse it of not doing enough to stop the violence. Others say it is too quick to support Israel. The US finds itself in a difficult position. It must balance its support for Israel with its other interests in the region. The Pew Research Center surveys paint a bleak picture. There is a decline in trust between Americans and Israelis. This decline is particularly noticeable towards their respective leaders. Only 30% of Americans express confidence in Netanyahu. Meanwhile, 57% of Israelis trust US President Biden. This is a significant drop from the previous year. This decline in trust reflects the growing polarization within both countries. It also highlights the diverging perspectives on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The situation is further complicated by domestic political considerations. Both Biden and Netanyahu face pressure from their own constituencies. The decline in trust between Americans and Israelis is concerning. It undermines the special relationship between the two countries. It also makes it more difficult to find common ground on important issues. The situation is unlikely to improve anytime soon. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains unresolved. Domestic politics in both countries continue to be polarized. This creates a challenging environment for diplomacy and cooperation. The US is deeply divided over the Israel-Hamas conflict. Public opinion is sharply split along religious and political lines. Jewish Americans overwhelmingly support Israel's right to defend itself. They view Hamas as a terrorist organization. Muslim Americans express greater sympathy for the Palestinian people. They criticize Israel's use of force. This division underscores the challenges facing US policymakers. They are trying to broker a peaceful resolution to the conflict. However, it is a difficult task. There are strong feelings on both sides of the issue. The US government officially supports a two-state solution. This would create an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, this goal seems increasingly distant. The Israeli-Palestinian peace process has been stalled for years. The US must navigate a complex web of relationships in the Middle East. It wants to maintain its close ties with Israel, but it also needs to engage with other countries in the region. These include Arab states that are sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. Benny Gantz's resignation from Israel's emergency wartime cabinet has sent shockwaves through the government. His departure exposes the deep rifts within the ruling coalition. It also highlights Netanyahu's struggles to maintain unity in the face of crisis. Gantz, a former military chief, was once seen as a potential successor to Netanyahu. Gantz cited the Prime Minister's indecisiveness and political maneuvering as the reasons behind his departure. His resignation further weakens Netanyahu's position. It raises serious questions about the government's ability to address the multifaceted challenges facing Israel. Gantz's resignation is a major blow to Netanyahu's government. It comes at a time when the country is facing multiple crises. The hostage situation remains unresolved. The threat from Hamas and Hezbollah is growing. Public discontent is at an all-time high. Gantz's departure could embolden other members of the coalition to follow suit. This could lead to the collapse of the government. It would also trigger new elections at a time when Israel can ill afford further political instability. Despite his resignation and declining popularity, Benny Gantz remains a significant figure in Israeli politics. Some view him as a potential leader who could offer a viable alternative to Netanyahu's hardline approach. Gantz's vision for Israel differs from Netanyahu's in key areas. This is particularly true regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Gantz advocates for a more pragmatic and less confrontational approach. He seeks to de-escalate tensions and explore avenues for dialogue. He believes that a negotiated settlement is the only way to achieve lasting peace. This puts him at odds with Netanyahu's more hawkish stance. Gantz's vision for Israel is based on a belief in the need for compromise. He recognizes that both Israelis and Palestinians have legitimate aspirations. He believes that a just and lasting peace can only be achieved through dialogue and mutual respect. Whether Gantz can translate his vision into reality remains to be seen. He faces significant challenges. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is deeply entrenched. There is deep mistrust on both sides. However, Gantz's willingness to engage in dialogue and seek common ground offers a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape.